YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new. Today we're going to be doing another wedding DIY. This is the second video in our wedding DIY series. If you are interested in more wedding DIYs, go ahead and like this video and then subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming wedding DIYs. In today's video, we're going to be making these DIY acrylic table numbers, perfect for any wedding or event. These could also be used at any party or event where you need the tables to be numbered or you have a seating chart. If you're interested in making these DIY acrylic table numbers, just keep watching. The first thing you'll need are the acrylic pieces that you're going to be working with. So I just have here some 5x7 acrylic pieces. They are clear acrylic and they just have this protective layer on them. All acrylic is going to come with some type of protective sheet on it that you can just peel away. So you have your acrylic pieces. And then you'll need some paint. We're going to do a few different styles today. So I do have some white paint and some mauve colored paint here. You'll need something to put your paint in, and then some foam paintbrushes, some weeding tools to weed your vinyl, a soft scraper, some polyacrylic, and some vinyl. Today we're going to be using 3 different colors: gold, matte white, and matte black. You will also need a cutting mat to use inside of your Cricut. I also have here one of these self-healing Cricut mats. This is really great for whenever you're trying to put the vinyl onto the acrylic. It'll really help you to line up the pieces perfectly. You will also need some transfer tape to transfer your vinyl onto the acrylic piece. Also, if you don't have a Cricut on hand, then you can do a hand-lettered option, which I will speak more about later, but this is the pen that you would use. This is just a Sharpie oil-based pen. And then, of course, we will need our Cricut too. I am going to have everything linked down below for you guys, including the fonts that we use in today's video. The first thing we're going to do in our Cricut design space is open up a new project. And then we're going to go ahead and choose the Shapes button, and we're going to choose a square. And then we're going to unlock this and make it 5x7. So this is going to represent our table number. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this because we are making 3 different designs here. There we go. And then on one of them, I'm actually going to rotate it 90 degrees because I want it to be horizontal. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our first one. So the design that I want on this one, I just wanted to say 1. I'm going to use the font called Big Caslon. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit bigger and just kind of place it right in the middle there, just so I can see how big I want this to be. And I think I'm going to scoot the letters together just a little bit. Okay, I think I like the size of that. And now let's go ahead and do our second table number. For this one, I wanted to say table 2. On the word table, I'm going to use the font Loves, and I'm going to use 2 different fonts here. And then for the number 2, I am going to use the font called Shanty Slant. I'm going to do something different on this one. I'm actually going to add in some glyphs. So if you've never heard of glyphs, what these are is it's basically the little swashes on the end of a word. So what I first need to do is I need to go into my font book. What I did is I'm going to go ahead and go to the font that I'm going to be using, Shanty Slant. And now I'm going to choose a T that has the swash going to the left. Here is that T here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to press Command C. I'm going to go over to Cricut and I'm going to paste that there. And then here's the T that I wanted. So for this to work right, you have to have selected the correct font that you want to use. I have the T there, and I'm going to put a W, and now I'm going to go find an O that has the swash going the other way. I'm going to go ahead and copy, and then paste that into there. For this one also, I want these to be cut off on the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my word 2, I'm going to go ahead and weld that word together, and then I'm actually going to take the square and the word 2 and I'm going to slice. So what that does is it takes off these edge pieces, and I'm going to delete that. So this is what that style is going to look like. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the third style. What I'm going to do here is just put number 3, and the font I'm going to be using for this one is called Julie Tano. Okay, I think I'm happy with the size of that one there. So these are my 3 designs. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete these rectangles that I was using here. And now I'm going to go ahead and get my vinyl ready for the cutting mat and send my project over to the Cricut. Since I'm using Oracal 651 vinyl, I'm going to choose the premium vinyl setting, and then I'm going to change my pressure to more since my blade is a little bit dull. I'm going to use my paper cutter for this. I love this thing for cutting vinyl. I will link this down below for you guys. I'm going to cut my vinyl into the appropriate sizes that I need for each design. So now that we have our vinyl cut, we're going to go ahead and position it onto our mat. I'm going to do all 3 colors on the same mat. It's such a time saver doing it this way. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get our vinyl off of the cutting mat. I like to flip my mat over and peel it this way. That way, if you peel the other way, then your vinyl can get really rolled up, and I try to avoid that just by doing this little trick here. Now we're going to go ahead and weed our vinyl. Okay, so we have our 3 designs here. And now we're going to get our transfer tape and put these onto our acrylic pieces. The next step is to take off the protective layer on each acrylic piece. I just do this by taking the sharp end on my weeding tool and just peeling it back. This can be a little bit tedious. Sometimes this protective layer is really stuck on there, but if you just keep working at it, try not to scratch the acrylic, and you should be able to get it off pretty easily. Okay, so now that we have the protective layer peeled off of the acrylics, I'm going to go ahead and take my Cricut self-healing mat, and I'm going to use the grid lines to help me place my vinyl exactly where I want it to be. So I'm just going to take my acrylic piece and I'm going to line it up here on the self-healing mat, and now I'm going to take my transfer tape I'm going to take one of my designs and place the transfer tape on top of it. And then I'm going to use my soft scraper to really adhere it to the transfer tape. I'm going to peel that back. Now I'm going to try and line it up perfectly onto the table number. Alright, I think I'm going to put it right about there. Now I'm going to use my squeegee to really adhere it there and peel this transfer tape back. Alright, so here's our first one. Now I'm going to take the next acrylic piece. This one I want to do horizontal, so I'm going to face it this way. I'm going to use that same piece of transfer tape, just so we're not being wasteful. And I'm going to put that onto the vinyl, scrape it with the soft scraper, and peel it back. And then I'm going to do the same thing, just try to line it up perfectly onto the acrylic piece. Okay, I think I'm going to put it right about there. And I'm going to use my soft scraper to adhere that to the acrylic. Peel that back. And there's our second one. And now we'll go ahead and do the last one. We're going to put our transfer tape there. And we're going to take our acrylic, line it up here. We're going to peel this back. For this one, I want the edge of the vinyl to be right on the edge of the acrylic. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but I'm going to try and get it perfectly on there, just in the right spot to where I want it to be. Okay, I think that's perfect. Use my scraper tool to really adhere that down, and then peel back the transfer tape. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, I like the way that one turned out. Now we're going to go ahead and paint the other side of these two table numbers. I'm going to leave this one clear just so we can see how that looks. I'm going to do this one with the gold number 3, a mauve color, and then I'm going to paint the back of this one white. I'm going to paint it at a diagonal this way. For this, you just really want to have light-handed strokes. It doesn't have to be perfect. I feel like when I do it a little bit more messy, it always looks a little bit better. But sometimes with painting acrylic, less can really be more. Be a little carefree with your brush strokes and it can make it look really pretty in the end. For this color, I think I'll only need one coat, but I am going to be sure to put a generous layer so the acrylic isn't peeking through in any areas. I really like the way this one turned out. Now I'm going to set this one aside so it can dry and move on to the next one. I am happy with the way this one turned out. Now we're going to go ahead and flip these over and let them dry, and then we'll come back and do the polyacrylic on the other side. You can get a very similar look without using a Cricut and just using a Sharpie oil-based pen. In my last video, I did an in-depth step-by-step tutorial on how to hand letter on acrylic. If you want to check that video out, I will link it down below for you guys and in the cards. But if you don't have a Cricut and you are looking to do some wedding DIYs, this is a really easy way to do them. Alright you guys, today is the next day. I went ahead and let these dry overnight. Now we're going to go ahead and do the last step, which is applying the polyacrylic clear coat. This is going to help to seal the back of the table numbers and protect the paint. I was recently talking to a subscriber down in the comments about the polyacrylic clear coat, and she said that she was getting a lot of bubbling whenever she was painting the polyacrylic on. I wanted to go ahead and mention it here in this video that using a satin or a gloss finish paint is going to cause that polyacrylic to bubble up. So you want to be sure that if the acrylic piece is something that you are going to seal, then you're going to want to use a matte paint. That way the polyacrylic won't bubble up and it'll really stick to that matte coat of paint. You only want to put the polyacrylic right where you painted before. You don't want to paint on the clear acrylic areas, just where you painted the acrylic paint previously. I just do one thin coat of this. And this is our finished product. I just love the way that these turned out. These are so easy to make and very budget friendly if you are doing some DIYs for your wedding. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more DIY wedding projects, make sure to hit subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.